Once upon a time, people lived among the treetops and walked on bridges high above the earth. This place, changed by time and forgotten by the old world, was filled with towering trees and homes, nestled like nests between branches. These walkways in the sky connected home to home, and people moved about with the birds and clouds as their neighbors. In this world, where nature had taken back much of the land, there was a very special place called the University Laboratory. It was not like the dusty, silent labs you might think of. No, this laboratory was alive with sparks of new ideas and buzzing with the sounds of machines and scientists at work. It was a place where the smartest minds came together to explore and understand mysteries, using technology that could do things like talk to plants or make light dance. The laboratory was a grand structure of glass and metal, shining like a jewel in the heart of the forest. It stood on the largest tree platform, looking out over the community and the wild, untamed world beyond. Inside, there were rooms with walls made entirely of screens, showing stars and planets, and other rooms where plants grew so well they seemed to sing with joy. Samuel, a young researcher with curious eyes and a mind full of questions, worked in this lab. Samuel was like any other person you might meet, but he carried a deep sadness and a big secret. A long time ago, he had lost his family in a mysterious event, and since then, he had been driven by a need to understand the unknown, particularly an enigmatic force that lay hidden deep beneath the earth. Every day, Samuel would wave goodbye to his Aunt Clara, who was more like a friend than a family member. She was always fussing over him, worrying about his adventures into the unknown parts of the lab and the secrets below. "Be careful, Samuel," she would say, her voice soft but stern. "Remember, some things are better left untouched." But Samuel, with a gentle smile, would assure her, "I'll be careful, Aunt Clara. I just need to find some answers." And off he would go, his bag filled with notebooks, pens, and tools that beeped and flashed. His daily journey took him through the lab's many wonders. First, he would pass through the Hall of Innovations, where inventions of all kinds were displayed like treasures. There were gadgets that could change the weather, seeds that grew into fruit overnight, and a telescope that could see into the deepest parts of the ocean. Then Samuel would sneak into the restricted areas, where signs read, "Do not enter," and doors were supposed to be locked. But Samuel, with his clever fingers and quick thinking, found his way in every time. This part of the lab was different. It was quieter, and the air hummed with the energy of something powerful and mysterious. In these hidden places, Samuel explored the underground tunnels that were off limits to everyone. These tunnels were like veins of the earth, leading to its heart. He believed that somewhere down there lay the answers to the great mystery that took his family, and perhaps, he thought, a way to make sure no one else would ever have to feel the sadness he carried in his heart. So, with a light on his forehead and hope in his step, Samuel ventured deeper and deeper, writing down everything he saw and felt, determined to uncover the secrets that lay waiting in the shadows. This was Samuel's world, a place of wonder and danger, of high treetops and deep earth, where every day brought new mysteries and the promise of discovery. And perhaps, just perhaps, a way to heal a heart that missed those it loved. Chapter 2. The Reluctant Scientist. Samuel was not just any scientist. He was like a detective in a world of puzzles that nature itself had scrambled up. Every morning, he woke up in his cozy little home, perched high among the tree branches. He'd step outside, greeted by the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves, making the morning feel like a lively symphony played by the forest. His home was filled with gadgets and gizmos, screens that showed star maps, and shelves full of books about the earth and sky. Each item was a piece of his grand quest to solve the biggest puzzle of all, the mystery of the underground entity that had taken his family away. Pictures of his family were everywhere, in frames, pinned to walls and tucked into books, reminding him of his mission every day. After breakfast, Samuel would usually have a chat with his Aunt Clara. Aunt Clara was a kind lady with a warm smile and eyes that sparkled with wisdom. She loved Samuel like her own son and was always a bit worried about his dangerous curiosity. "Samuel, do you remember to take breaks and look at the clouds sometimes?" she would ask as they shared a pot of tea. "Yes, Aunt Clara, I do," Samuel would reply, although both knew he often forgot the world above when lost in his thoughts. On this particular morning, Samuel had a visit from his younger cousin, Ellie. Ellie was about 10 years old with a wild mane of curly hair and an endless stream of questions. She looked up to Samuel like a hero from her favorite storybooks. "Sammy, will you show me the secret lab today, please?" Ellie bounced eagerly on her toes. Samuel ruffled her hair, chuckling. "Not today, little explorer. It's too risky, and I can't have you turning into a mouse with some crazy experiment." Ellie pouted, but then giggled. "Okay, but tell me what you find. Promise?" "I promise," Samuel said, crossing his heart. Waving goodbye to Aunt Clara and Ellie, Samuel grabbed his sturdy backpack filled with tools and notebooks and made his way to the lab. As he walked along the high walkways, he greeted neighbors who were tending to their sky gardens or fixing a solar panel here and there. Arriving at the university laboratory, Samuel entered a world of buzzing energy. The main hall was bustling with researchers discussing their latest findings and robots whizzing by with materials. Samuel passed the Hall of Innovations, pausing for a moment to admire a new gadget that could clean water using only light. But deep down, he was eager to get to the restricted areas, the secret parts of the lab where he spent most of his time. These areas were hidden behind doors that required special access. Samuel, with his knack for figuring things out, had managed to replicate the necessary security badges. As he slipped into a less traveled corridor, the air grew cooler, and the buzz from the main lab faded away. Here, the lights dimmed, and the paths twisted and turned, leading to the depths of the earth. Samuel's heart always raced a little faster in this part of the lab. He knew he wasn't supposed to be here, but his need to find answers was stronger than any rule. He ventured into a tunnel that led to the underground chambers, where strange symbols were etched into the walls, and the air tingled with unexplained energy. With each step, Samuel felt both excitement and a touch of fear. He knew something powerful and mysterious lay ahead, something that connected deeply to the loss of his family. Pulling out his notebook, he began to jot down every detail, every whisper of the wind, every shift in the shadows. This was Samuel's secret world, a place of hidden truths and dangers lurking in the quiet dark. But to him, it was the path to understanding, and maybe, just maybe, a way to bring peace to his aching heart. Chapter 3: The Discovery. When Samuel met the mysterious underground creature, great fear and joy filled Samuel's heart. He hurried back to the glowing canals, a question running through his mind. What is that creature? Why did he retreat instead of hurting her? He knew he had stumbled upon something important that indicated the puzzle he was trying to solve. Once he returned to the lab, Samuel could no longer keep his findings to himself. He decided to share what he had discovered with Dr. Eliza, one of the senior scientists who had always been kind to him. Dr. Eliza wore glasses that made her thoughtful eyes widen, and she always smelled faintly of peppermint, which she said helped her think better. Samuel discovered Dr. Izzo in his office, surrounded by the computer books. Dr. Eliza must not tell you an important tower his fears of this adrenalinium of his organization. Dr. Eliza looked up, her expression changing as she saw Samuel's discomfort. What is it, Samuel? You look like you've seen a ghost. It's not a ghost, Samuel replied, taking a deep breath. It's something large, in the tunnel. I saw a creature. Dr. Eliza suddenly got up. Is it natural? Samuel, you know these areas are off limits for a reason. This can be dangerous. Samuel nodded, his decision clear. I know, but I think it's going to connect it to my family. It is causing me, as trying to understand my person. Dr. Eliza stops, taking his word. She knew Samuel's quest to find answers on her family, and she could not turn away from her plea to get help. Very well, Samuel. Show me the data you summarize. They combined their mouths, and they jumped to Samuel's account, and a hidden account. There is no doubt that the images are, but no doubt in nature. He was unlike anything they had ever seen before. Huge, bright eyes, and muscles that seemed to pulsate with life. Dr. Eliza likes him but is worried. This is important, Samuel, but it is dangerous. We must proceed with caution. Determined to learn more, Samuel and Dr. Eliza came up with a plan. They would install more cameras in the tunnels and monitor the creature's movements. They hoped to understand its behavior and ultimately its origins. The following days, Samuel was busy as a bee. He installed new cameras and checked them every day, gathering all the footage he could. The creature appeared several times, always at a distance, watching in secret. It seemed curious but cautious, and Samuel felt a strange connection to it, a bond formed by their shared mystery. Samuel also started to notice patterns in the creature's appearances. He seems to be active at night. The sign and some methods are running when nearly close. Samuel lists everything. His note grow as a textbook. Meanwhile, the other labs were buzzing about Samuel's secret mission. Other scientists talked and speculated, but Samuel kept many details between him and Dr. Eliza. This was his mission, his chance to maybe find a way to connect with the past he had lost and protect the future of everyone in the lab. At the end of the chapter, Samuel lies awake at night, looking up at the canopy of leaves above his treehouse, his mind filled with dreams of glowing eyes and dark tunnels. He knew he was about to experience something big, something that could change everything. He just hoped he was ready for whatever lay ahead. Chapter 4. Manifestation. After several nights of watching and waiting, Samuel's cameras finally captured clearer footage of the mysterious creature moving through the tunnels. Each time it appeared, the symbols on the tunnel walls would glow a soft green, casting eerie lights across the creature's path. Samuel showed Dr. Eliza the new footage, and they both watched in awe and apprehension. This creature, it's like nothing we've ever seen before, Dr. Eliza whispered, her eyes wide behind her glasses. It seems to be connected to these symbols. Maybe they are a source of power or a form of communication. Samuel nodded, his thoughts racing. I think you're right, Dr. Eliza. I've noticed that the symbols glow brighter when it gets closer. There must be a link. Excited by their discovery, they decided to try something new. Samuel suggested they attempt to interact with the creature using the symbols. Maybe we can communicate with it, or at least understand more about what it wants, he proposed. Dr. Eliza agreed but insisted on taking every precaution. Together, they set up a safe experiment in the lab, replicating the symbols and using various energy sources to see if they could recreate the glowing effect. The first few attempts failed, but finally, one of the symbols responded to a specific frequency of light. That's it, Samuel exclaimed. It's responding to the light. Maybe this is how we can talk to it. Buoyed by their success in the lab, Samuel decided to take the experiment to the tunnels. With Dr. Eliza's reluctant approval and a lot of safety gear, Samuel set up the light-emitting device near where the creature was most often seen. That night, as Samuel and Dr. Eliza watched from a safe distance, the light flickered on and off, mimicking the pattern they had discovered. The tunnel was quiet, and for a moment, Samuel worried that nothing would happen. Suddenly, there was a low rumble, and the creature appeared. It moved slowly towards the light, its tendrils pulsing softly. As it approached the symbol on the Chapter 5, tension builds battle structures. The laboratory spoke of a mixture of excitement and fear following Samuel's experiment with the strange creature. Every day brought new things, and with them new problems. The creature appeared to be responding to their attempts to communicate with it, but the more they knew, the more the laboratory itself seemed to respond. Samuel, these energy changes in the laboratory, they started living in the tunnel after your research, Dr. Eliza remarked as we reviewed the information together one morning. Her expression slowly changed, as if she were worried. Samuel bent over, his hair full of thoughts. I saw it too. It's as if the laboratory turns into a biological tunnel. Maybe we are not just observers. Maybe we are participants now. The thought was exciting but also scary. If the laboratory was connected to an entity and mysterious signs, what would this mean for everyone's safety? As the days passed, the strangeness increased. One afternoon, a faint hum filled the air, and several researchers watched in amazement as computer screens began to display graphic images of light signals coming from the tunnel. No one could explain what happened. Samuel felt a great responsibility to keep everyone safe. He spent many of his nights poring over old documents and scientific journals, looking for clues that might help him understand the creature. Dr. Eliza studied with him, and his wisdom and experience guided his research. Meanwhile, whispers of doubt and fear spread among the laboratory workers. Some scientists said that the pipes should be completely closed to protect the laboratory. Others were curious and wanted to venture into the unknown. Samuel heard both sides. He remembered his promise to Aunt Clara and Ellie to be careful, but he also felt the urge to find answers, not just for himself, but for everyone who trusts him in the lab. One evening, as Samuel was driving home on the highway, he heard two of his friends talking to each other. "This is too dangerous," said one, shaking his head. "We don't know what we're dealing with." These words surprised Samuel, but they also made him decide. He knew he had to find a way to reassure his friends and colleagues that they were on the path of understanding, not destruction. The next day, Samuel and Dr. Eliza presented her findings at a laboratory meeting.